Alright, so this is a tutorial on configuring XCSoar to Condor. The, what we're going to do is we're going to use a thing called the virtual COM port server to connect to Condor and XCSoar on, say, a phone. So first what you're going to do is you're going to want to go and get the virtual COM port driver. It's just go netburner virtual COM port download, and you should be able to find that on the internet. And then click on that, and then just do a download of the software and load that back onto your computer. Once you've got the software installed on your computer, you go ahead, and what it'll do is click on this, and it'll end up installing the application on your system. Once you do that, I created an icon here for netburner. It's going to bring up a dialog, and it's going to look something like this. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to add a port, virtual COM port, which what's going to happen is Condor is going to connect to this netburner virtual COM port. So what you're going to do is you're going to select your COM port number. You want to create this as a server connection because your computer is going to be working as the server, and your XCSoar on your phone is going to be working as the client. So then what you're doing here is then you need to give it a port number, and I could tried to use 5001, but XCSoar doesn't like it, and it didn't like a lot of ports that I used, so used port 23, which happens to be a telnet port. It's not normally used, so you don't have to worry about it, but it'll be running on port 23. That's what I assigned it to. You can try using different ports, but 23 works. So once you create, you just go apply. It's going to create a port, and now I've got this port configured. So now I'm going to connect to this virtual COM port. So the next thing that you want to do after you've configured your netburner, you're going to want to configure or your Condor. So go into Condor, go setup, and you're going to want to go options, and then you want to go to NEMA output. You want to have that enabled, and you want to select the COM port that you want to connect to. So this is set to COM4. Your netburner virtual COM port is set to COM4. So pretty straightforward. And you just go OK, and then what you're do is now that's all you need to do. Configure for Condor. Now next you're going to want to set up your phone. So XCSoar on your phone. So you have XCSoar running in the background. Now don't use sim, use fly. You couldn't get the sim mode, doesn't work in this configuration. So next thing you want to do is go to your configuration, go to config, go to devices. Now what you're going to want to do is create a device. So I've already got one set up here, which is Condor simulator using a TCP client. So what you want to do is go TCP client. So I've set this as being TCP client. I give it the IP address of my computer here. If you want to know what the IP of your computer is, just use the command called ipconfig. That'll tell you. So you just go IP config, and basically that'll tell you what your IP is. It's going to be something like this: 192.168.0.124. So you're going to want to do that. And then what you're going to do is give it that port number, which is the one you gave it over here in your COM port software, and then drivers, numerous ones will work, but Condor soaring simulator will work. You could probably use just a direct output. Now the next thing you need to be conscious about is your firewall. Your firewall is going to want to block the ports, this port 23 by default. So you're going to either have to turn your firewall off, or you're going to have to create a rule in your firewall that's going to allow port 23 out. So just have to remember that. I guess the other thing to remember too is that this is probably your computer is set with DHCP, so this IP address can change. So just be conscious of that. Those are two things that can hang you up. So if your IP changes here, you're going to have to change it again on your phone. It's not that big a deal. So anyways, you go click OK, and then this is running. Now you see it says no data, so basically it's connected right now. That's if it said not available, then it's not connected, so we know we have a connection here. So you can go click monitor, for example. So we click monitor, and this is going to sit and it's going to output the NEMA data from Condor once we start here. So we go free flight, and then we'll start our flight. And in a second here, we should start seeing some NEMA output on XCSoar. So that's pretty much all there is to it. So you just basically have, but you have three entities here. You've got Condor, you got the virtual COM port, and you've got your phone. So there you can see the NEMA outputs coming out. So we can close that and then go back out of that and then click into here. Now we can start our flight. So if we start our flight, we should start seeing, the parameters coming out, and we'll get that working here in a second. All right. So this will begin. We should start seeing there's our velocity picking up, and we're starting to work. So that's about all there is to it. It works a lot better in trying to use Bluetooth. I had no end of trouble trying to get Bluetooth to work. This works much better than that, and I think it's probably a pretty good setup anyway. So the only hang-ups are going to be your firewall. Anyways, that's about all I had to say for that. So hopefully that works out for you. If you have any problems, I'll try to list the stuff on the bottom of the file there, or YouTube settings, and I'll give you also the websites and stuff that you can collect this data from. So